Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a short little knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Kizer Bamboo. This is normally not a style of pocket knife that I like, but truthfully, Kizer and the designer, whose name I cannot pronounce, but I'll show the logo there, they did a really good job with this. This actually works really well, and they managed to do it and put a reasonable price tag on it. So this is actually going to be very desirable and very ideal for a lot of people looking for this style of almost office carry pocket knife. Thanks so much to Kizer for sending this in. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. Let's go ahead and measure it. The overall length of the Kizer Bamboo, this is not a big knife. Obviously, it's not trying to be. It's coming in at just shy of 7 inches, maybe 6.8. Blade length is coming in at about 2.85, making it very much more legal in certain places, with those of you with that 3-inch blade law. And then again, maybe I'm going to say it's actually about 2.9 on the blade length and about 2.85 on the cutting edge length. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Any custom scales in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. You can see here, this is a very slender and compact knife. It's got a reasonable amount of cutting edge, actually. The same amount of cutting edge as the Demco AD 20.5. It's just much shorter. Let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deck. I don't know why I'm doing these backwards today. And then finally, let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. It's got to have at least the same, or is it? It's actually more cutting edge than the Spyderco Para 3. How's the action? Usually with knives like this, there's a bunch of issues because they're trying to have this stylish, like the blade completely and totally disappears inside of the handle. And this sort of like desire for form over function, or at least form over convenience, it ends up being exactly that. A lot of designers will sacrifice convenience or just comfort in manipulation to get the look that they want. And in this case, it's super easy to manipulate, despite being thin and compact. The first thing that I thought when I opened this up, I was like, great, another one of these. It looks cool when it's open and when it's closed, and it has that continuous, those straight lines, and the blade disappears, right? But it's going to be like awkward to manipulate. Because this is a top flipper and not a front flipper, it's actually really easy. The detent is nice. The jimping here is nice. It's so easy to manipulate. And thank goodness somebody had the good sense to cut this way out and actually raise those. They look like uncomfortable teeth. They're not. They're real soft. It's actually super easy to disengage right there. Drops down to the thumb with a detent ball up on the face of the blade. Super smooth. Just, way easier than I would have expected for something like this. This is one of the only knives that's like this. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. In the same family of like the CRKT CEO. Obviously, this is still different, but that same idea. They have that certain cool factor about them, but a lot of them have the issue of being awkward to manipulate, right? And as is the case with all things, you'll adapt to it. This requires zero adaptation. It just works. It feels good. It doesn't feel like I'm going to drop it. You can front flip it. Accessing the lock bar, super easy. There's no double clutch or anything like that, and it's ridiculously smooth. It's exactly what you would hope for in terms of action for something like this, and we just rarely get it on designs like this, or at least in my experience. Let's do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. It's not really a thin knife, but it's not thick in a bad way. It's about the same maybe as the Para 3. Length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This is a stupidly easy object to carry that will be welcome and comfortable in essentially anything. Despite it being as thick as it is so short this way. And it's such a simple, like the shape of object it is makes it very friendly with other things in the pocket if you're somebody who likes to carry a smaller knife with other objects in that same pocket. Very easy carry experience with this guy. Let's go ahead and weigh it. What are we looking at for materials? This has a black micarta scale on it. I honestly don't know if they have, different colors and things like that, but it's just a textured black micarta scale, steel liners, and then we have Nitro V, which is fine. I mean, honestly, with something like this, it's not going to be a hard use. This is going to be a light duty EDC pocket knife or office carry knife for most people, or anything that fits, that general description. Excuse me. So Nitro V, fine. It could have been like 154 cm N690. It could have been 14 C28N. It could have been D, whatever, right? Nitro V is fine. I have no problem with that, especially at the price point. I think that's very fair, especially considering Nitro V tends to be on more expensive budget knives. So the weight is 2.3 ounces, making it ultra lightweight by my definition. Also very, very good ratios. With the blade length and cutting edge being quite a bit more than like that whole ounce and inch thing, right? So you're getting a good amount of blade for how much weight it is. The balance is a bit back from the pivot, but you're not going to really notice it much considering it's a 2.3 ounce object. Just check your pocket before you, throw your pants in the hamper, because the knife might still be there. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use in this channel. Also the pinned comment. So we have a pivot that's a T8, and then you actually only have the screws for the pocket clip on either side, which, by the way, no, I didn't think we'd get that lucky. The screws that you use to fill in on the side the pocket clip are T8. The ones that are holding the clip in are T6. Either way, it's those exact screws that you remove if you want to disassemble the knife, which is nice. You don't need any additional body screws, and I think that was a smart move. So even though there's some T6 in there, it's still essentially ideal. Very minimal hardware. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness, which I guess, we'll just grab the top flipper there, since it looks like it appears to be the same as the flat leading out to roughly 60% the length of the blade. Now let's change this up here. There we go. We'll just get it while it's out. I bet that's about 115 to 120 thousandths. Yeah. Oh, is it less? It's 107. Okay. Maybe closer to 110 thousandths. Pretty darn thin. Okay, meat and potatoes time. This is it's almost like a Quaken looking knife, but even like thinner and more. I'm sure that Boker or somebody makes a Quaken that's almost exactly the same size. This has just some light texturing to it, just enough to give it some extra grip, to give you some extra confidence while you're holding, and otherwise, it lacks any lock-in zones, but it doesn't need that. This is a knife that you carry around the house with you, or like I said, around the office. Somewhere where you expect to make light, simple cuts here and there. This is much more about being comfortable to carry than it is being capable for a wide variety of different tasks. The blade will definitely poke and it'll definitely slice. Kizer does a good job heat treating their blades, so you can, generally expect the Nitro V to perform the way that it should. But with this also being a knife that you probably won't be doing excessive cutting with, you're probably not going to be doing much more than touching it up here and there anyway. So where they could make this more accommodating for the end user, I feel like they did everywhere. I feel confident holding it. I've got enough room to hold on to it with a full hammer grip if I need to, right? But it's comfortable here. It's comfortable here. Honestly, it's just all of these little tiny things I like. I also like how the straight lines look. I also like the shadow boxing of the liner underneath. I think that's really, really nice. The clip is short and the bill is a little shallow, but honestly, in and out of the pocket is a breeze. They really, all the little tiny places where so many other companies mess these designs up and just make them, it sounds like if you know what I'm talking about with these designs, right? If you've been chasing like the perfect version of this, and there's always some hang up with these. There's always some weird, goofy thing that just makes them not quite ideal, which is funny because what they're ideal for is such a simple, nothing setting. Just sleek, compact, easy to manipulate, get it out every now and then to make simple cuts, right? Make it as convenient as possible. That's essentially what they did here. I'm having a hard time critiquing any part of this. It's not going to be the perfect EDC, perfect general EDC for everybody. But for that person who just doesn't use a pocket knife very often, and is just cutting open a package here or there, a letter here or there, and they want something that's going to be comfortable in fitted dress pants or, work clothes, and, especially if you are carrying a lot of other stuff, this is going to do it. It really is such a convenient and super easy thing to manipulate and to carry. Kizer I think they just really nailed it. And it's such a boring thing. This is such a boring pocket knife versus a lot of the stuff that I showcase on this channel. But when something's made right, when I understand the purpose of it, and I try to connect the design to what they were trying to do, when it's done correctly, then it's worth talking about. And this is one of those things. You have a little lanyard bar back here. I can't imagine who would attach a lanyard to this, but maybe, like I said, pocket clip. It can be mounted for left or right-hand carry, which is great. Left-handed people, you'll just be dealing with a right-handed liner lock, which is very easy to deal with. But I actually really like top flippers when they're done correctly. It just feels so much more organic than front flipping it, which you can still easily do, right? But back here, very comfortable. But up top, as long as it's, this is such a short frame here that it makes it really, really easy to top flip this, just because your finger is so much higher. If this were super long, then you would have to adjust upwards, right? But it makes it super, super easy to top flip it, and just very, very organic. We already talked about the lanyard bar. You can switch the pocket clip, etc. It's a liner lock, lockup percentage. Looks to be super early, but in reality, it's actually engaging. Can we see it right in here? It's actually engaging there, maybe into 25% of the tang, or what we're going to refer to as the tang of the blade. So blade play, absolutely nothing. That's great. No lock stick, no pivot lash. Very, very smooth in here. Very light detent, but it doesn't need much. And there's no detent lash. This knife comes in at $60, which some people will relate price to the size of the object, which, if you're familiar with a knife world, is not that it's not how that works. But Nitro V and contoured micarta, some steel liners, and it's not a micro knife, but it's on the smaller side, right? Larger knives from Kizer that are utilizing Nitro V tend to be a little bit more. Some other knives that might be using some less expensive steel compositions, D2 or whatever, might be a little less. I'm not upset with the price tag. I was kind of hoping it would be 50 or less, but at $60, I think it's okay. But realistically, this knife is, for those of you looking for this perfect, or one example, and I'm sure that there are other examples out there, but one good example in a sea of knives that are similar or trying to do something similar that just don't quite do it, this one does it really, really well. I'm not saying it's absolutely perfect, but I really don't have any major criticisms for this design. I guess we didn't really look at the plunge grind, right? That's an area that might bother some of you if this is going to be your dedicated knife and you're going to use it heavily and sharpen it heavily. So take a good look at that. But for most people, just using this casually and stropping it here and there, you should be okay. This is done really, really well, and I like this one. Even if it is on the more boring side, which is clearly intentional with this design. It's supposed to be that sort of fancy, lightweight, compact, office setting, minimalist knife, right? So good to go. This is a knife that I would recommend to the average person. I think pretty much anybody can figure this out, and it'll fit in pretty much anybody's pocket. And it's also a really good budget knife. So it's going to go in my recommended knives playlist. It's also going to go in my cheap knives I like playlist. That's pretty much it. Thanks so much to Kizer for sending this one in. I'll give this one away during a live stream in the near future. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.